I seek Allah's protection from the rejected shaitan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. In all things I say I am faithful to what Muhammad and his purified family have spoken, in that which they have concealed and in that which they have made known, that which has reached me of them and that which is not. Praised be Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and may His blessings and peace be upon Muhammad, the master of all creation, and his purified family. Peace be upon them. May Allah's damnations be upon their killers and their enemies until the hereafter. There is a clear difference in our point of view between Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, and those who preach on his behalf. We say this with all due respect to all the lecturers, Hussaini lecturers, those who are pure and sincere and honest. We consider the duty of a Hussaini lecturer, we consider his duty is the most noble of all, without comparison. A Hussaini lecturer is a position higher than any other position. It is enough for that person an honor, the honor of being referred to as a lecturer, Hussaini lecturer, to ascend these stairs of the pulpit, or Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, to ascend to the top, and underneath the greatest of scholars, looking up at him and listening. On the floor would be the greatest kings, leaders, presidents. And this is what the Hussaini lecturer represents. That is his position. Of course, condition that he is sincere and pure and straight in his path, in his approach, and his beliefs. Not a deviant. So when we criticize some of them, I ask that they do not misunderstand my words and to think I am mocking them or looking down upon them. It's simply an advice. We truly notice this phenomenon, especially in our day and age, that there is a clear difference between Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, and the Hussaini lecturers. And we can notice this difference in what we are researching, this research paper, this series we have set out on. For example, have you heard any of the Hussaini lecturers discuss this topic, top the pulpit, in public, say the things that Imam Hussain have said publicly about the matter of Takfir, declaring others infidel or denunciation, especially since there are so many narrations of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, on this topic. It's more than one narration, it's more than two narrations, and there are various sources. And also, these narrations have equals in meaning, not just on the tongue of Imam Hussain. There are narrations by other imams of his sons on the same topic. So this shows that this matter is very important. It needs to be discussed. Why do the Hussaini lecturers not speak about it? In what we mentioned in the first episode of this series, we said it's an uncomfortable topic. The lecturer is worried if he were to use the term takfir, the term infidel, he would be accused of being a radical, especially if he were to refer things as they are. So if he said, "Oh people, I am Hussaini lecturer, and I do not accept that no one is considered a Muslim except a Shia person. The other sects are illegitimate." How would people react to this statement? If he is not arrested in some countries, if he spoke about it in the so-called Saudi Arabia, or in Kuwait, or Bahrain, and other Gulf countries, if he is not arrested, let's say if he's in Iraq and he said that, at the very least, you see that the media would heavily criticize this person. Even the Shia would dissociate from him, and they might even call him as a Daeshi, terrorist. Some would even go out of their way to say, no, Imam Hussain was not such a person. He was an Imam for unity. These are false claims. So out of worry of these consequences, fear of these consequences, even if the Hussaini lecturer is aware of these narrations, he would silence himself and not speak publicly about these matters. He would not say Imam Hussain said that. What that essentially means is that there is a great difference between what this man who links himself to Imam Hussain as being a Hussaini lecturer and Imam Hussain, because Imam Hussain did not hold his tongue about these realities. These so-called lecturers do. These considerations that this lecturer might think is a justification for silencing this truth, these considerations did not exist, and perhaps even they were more pressing in the time of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him. So why did Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, did not hold his tongue about these narrations or about these matters? And he spoke publicly and bravely and declared others as infidels, knowing full well, especially since he's an infallible, fully knowing what this would lead to. Shia would be persecuted, killed, and one of the justifications used to kill them is because they declare others as infidels and denounce them. At the very least, it would cause some conflict. It would cause conflict between Muslims. Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, he is mistreated even by his lecturers. Some of them say. We do not see usually that Hussaini lecturer would so freely speak about Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, said if it is considered a sensitive matter, such as Imam Hussein's position towards Abu Bakr and Umar. May Allah curse them. These narrations that we have revealed, and perhaps we were the first to publicly discuss them, you do not find them, or you do not hear them being mentioned. Maybe in the last few years, some lecturers, very few, have had the courage to reveal them. But in general, no. And this is the approach of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him. This is what he has invited people to do. This is his method. Yes, Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, was strict for the sake of the religion, and he differentiated between evil and good, and what is legitimate and illegitimate, and what is impure and pure, and who is considered a Muslim and who is not, and who is a disbeliever and a hypocrite, and those who will not be saved. Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, differentiated, and he set the lines clearly. Imam Hussain did not mix things up, peace be upon him, not like people do now. Yes, Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, had positions he took denouncing others, calling them as infidels, and this is not something we feel embarrassed to say. It is something that happened, and of course there were rules and conditions for it. This is what we'll study in this series. One of the most prominent examples where Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, declared that some groups are infidels. Courageously he spoke about that when in one of the incidents with a believer woman called called al-Walibiyya, may Allah bless her soul. It is said that she was called Walibi because she was from that location in Yemen, and she was known as a noble Bedouin woman from Yemen. And there are those who say it's that she was from the people of Asad, the tribe of Asad. At any rate, she was from the tribe. To know this woman further, Hababa, this woman was a very sacred woman. May Allah be pleased with her. She narrated reported narrations by Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam al-Hassan, peace be upon him, and she continued contacting the Imams, peace be upon them, with miraculous means, and even she reported narrations of Imam Sadiq, peace be upon him. And by Imam Sajjad, she received great blessings that in which she pointed at her while he was praying, and her youth was returned, and she lived a very long life until she lived until the time of Imam al-Rida, peace be upon him. And if I recall correctly, before this blessing by Imam Sajjad, peace be upon him, she received another Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, that he treated her from a disease she had. With his saliva, he placed some on the site of her illness, and she was cured. So the sacred woman received blessings from the Imams and lived throughout the period of Imam Ali to Imam Rida, peace be upon him, many years, about 200 years. When she passed away, May Allah be pleased with her. Imam al-Rida, peace be upon him, shrouded her, her death shroud, with his own shirt, and prayed upon her, and placed her in a grave. And after she was buried, he sat by her grave and cried. When the infallible cries for someone, it's not like when we cry for someone. This is the cries of religion for this loss. And even more impactful is that he, peace be upon him, Imam Rida, peace be upon him, after crying, he said, send my salutations to my fathers, peace be upon him. It's as if he chose her a messenger to his pure fathers, peace be upon him, because he is sincere, he is assured that she will be with them in the hereafter. She always stayed by their side while she was alive. She was wholly loyal to them, utterly, completely loyal. We remind you of a narration we have mentioned in the past, reviewed by al-Kulayni, Kafi al-Saduq and Kamal al-Din, of Hababa al-Walibiyya. Al-Walibiyya said, I saw the commander of the faithful, peace be upon him, with sharatat of khamis. He had something in his hand, like a stick, and he was hitting with it some people in the market were selling types of fish that were unpermissible. You know that the people, the opposers, they see that all sea creatures are permissible to eat. However, we do not find it permissible except if it has scales or what is known as prawns, what we call as rubian or arbian.
فالإمام عليه السلام أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام كان ينهى هؤلاء نهيا عن المنكر.
So he told these
يضربهم بدرته حتى ينتهوا عن هذا البيع. تقول حبابة
hit them with this method so they do not continue selling these things. And a man asked him when he said Jundu Bani al-Marwan, he said, when you use that term, what did you mean by it? He said to him, people who have shaved their beards and looked after their mustaches, so Allah transformed them. That is why it is considered shaving your beard is prohibited, but shaving your mustache is a commendable act. When you do the opposite, it's as if you have transformed into a mutant. He said, when I heard this, I could not compare the way he spoke to anyone else. It was so beautiful. So I kept following in his footsteps until he went to the Kufa Masjid. And I said to him, O Commander of the Faithful, how do we know where to find Imam?
فقال ائتيني بتلك الحصاة.
He said to her, bring me that stone.
فقدر أن يطبع عفوا ائتيني بتلك الحصاة وأشار بيده إلى حصاة فأتيته بها
I brought
فطبع لي فيها بخاتم
stone and then
ثم
he
قال
imprinted
لي يا حبابة إذا ادعى
his
مدع
ring
الإمامة
signature on the
فقدر
stone.
أن يطبع كما
He said to her,
رأيت
if someone
فاعلمي
is
أنه إمام
declared himself
يفترض
an imam and he could do what I just did, know that he is a legitimate
هذه
imam.
بقية عندك الحصاة
This
هذه
stone in your hand,
هو المفروض إن واحد يخلي
when
عليها
you
خاتم ما
put
يطبع يعني
your
ما
ring,
يغوص في
signature of
الحصاة.
your ring on a stone,
صحيح.
it must not be engraved on it
الإمام
because
المعصوم
it's a
أمره
stone.
يختلف.
But the infallible is different. And we have
مثلما
certain
الإمام المعصوم
ways to
إذا
do things.
مشى
Just
على
like when
التراب لا يترك
the
أثر.
infallible, if they
لكن
were
إذا مشى على
to
الصخر
walk
يطبع.
on soil, they would not leave
عكس.
footprints. But if they were to walk on rocks, they would leave
أعطاها هذه
footprints.
العلامة وأعطاها
So he
علامة
gave her this
أخرى.
sign, and another sign
قال
he said to her,
والإمام لا
an imam
يعزب عنه شيء يريده.
will always
لا
be
شيء
able
يستعصي عليه
to
بإذن
get
الله
what he
تعالى.
wants with the will of Allah.
قالت ثم انصرفت
And
حتى
then
قبض أمير
I
المؤمنين
went my
عليه
way,
السلام
and then
فجئت
I
إلى
heard of the
الحسن عليه
Imam's
السلام وهو في
Ali, peace be upon him,
مجلس
passing.
أمير المؤمنين عليه
And then I came,
السلام والناس يسألونه هو القائم مقام أبيه.
apologies, and until the Imam
فقال هو
went on his
بادر
way, and then I saw
مباشرة
Imam
إلى
Hassan,
الحسن
peace
عليه
be upon
السلام
him,
يعلم بما في ضميره وهو بادر
and
مباشرة.
he
فقال
knew
يا
what was in my
حبابة
heart, and he said,
الوالبية.
oh
فقلت
Hababa.
نعم يا
He said,
مولاي.
yes.
فقال هاتي ما
He said,
معك.
bring me what you have.
قال فأعطيته
So I gave it to him,
فيها
and then
كما طبع
he imprinted his
فإذا ثبت
ring
عنده أن الإمام الحسن هو
with
الإمام المفترض
the same manner that
بعد
his father
أبيه
did
أمير المؤمنين
on
عليه
the stone. So now she knows he's a legitimate
قالت
imam.
ثم أتيت
Then she
الحسين
said, I
عليه
went to Imam
السلام
Hussain, peace be
وهو
upon
في
him,
مسجد رسول
in the
الله
mosque of
صلى
the
الله
Messenger
عليه
of Allah.
وآله. أي أنها انحدرت من الكوفة
So she said,
إلى المدينة
from
المنورة
Kufa,
تتتبع تفتش
I went to Medina because she wanted to know who
تقول
the Imam of
فقرب
time was.
ورحب.
And she said,
تعالي
when he
يا
saw
حبيبي.
me, he welcomed me.
اقتربي ورحب.
And he asked me to come
ثم
closer, and he
قال
said
لي
to her,
إن في الدلالة دليلا على ما تريدين أفتريدين دلالة
do you want
الإمامة؟
proof for
أيضا
Imam?
هو بادر.
He started,
قلت نعم يا سيدي. فقال
do not wait
هاتي
for
ما
her.
معك.
He said, yes.
فناولته
And he
الحصاة
said, bring me what you
فطبع
have.
لي
I
فيها.
gave him the stone, and he
قالت
imprinted
ثم أتيت
his
علي بن الحسين
ring's
عليهما السلام
signature on it.
وقد بلغ بالكبر إلى أن
Said,
أرعشت أو
I
أرعشت.
got so old until I started shaking.
مثل كبار
He was very old, as is common with
وأنا
very old people. And he said,
وعد
I
يومئذ
was back then
113
113
هذا أيام
years old,
السجاد
in the
عليه
days of As-Sajjad, peace be upon him.
فرأيته
And then
راكعا
I saw
وساجدا
him
ومشغولا بالعبادة.
busy with
السجاد
prayer.
زين العابدين.
As-Sajjad, peace be upon him.
تقول فيئست من الدلالة. ظهر انتظرت فترة
And she said,
طويلة
I waited for so
وهي لم
long.
ترتعش
I was so
وصارت
old
عجوز
and
كبيرة.
things that
فتقول يئست.
she says I lost hope that I would
فأومأ
get him
إلي
to sign
بالسبابة وهو في
my
صلاة
stone for me.
روحي فداه. مجرد الشكل. أومأ
He
إلي
said while he was
بالسبابة
praying, he just pointed at me
فعاد
in his-
إلي شبابي.
with his finger, and my youth returned to me.
وبالمناسبة هنالك
And
روايات
there are
أخرى
other
بهذا
narrations
المضمون فيها شوية تفصيلات
about this and
منها
with
أنها
more detail.
تقول بعدين من رجعت
Said,
كنت شابة
when I became young,
وإذا بي يعني فتشت نفسي لقيت نفسي أنه حط يعني رجعت بعد
said when
اليأس. وتقول فتشت نفسي وجدت نفسي باكرة. يعني
she said, after returning to my youth, I investigated myself and I saw myself a virgin.
تقول إلي بالسبابة. طبعا التعبير بالسبابة من قبلها وإلا
and having a period despite her old age to prove that she was very young now. It's a miracle. basically.
تقول أومى إلي بالسبابة
Said,
فعاد
when
إلي
my youth
شبابي
returned to me,
قالت فقلت يا
I
سيدي
said, "Oh
كم
Master,
مضى من الدنيا وكم بقي
how much is left of this
فقال
dunya? How
أما
much is
ما
left?"
مضى فنعم وأما ما بقي فلا. إذا تحبين أبلغك بما مضى
He
من
said to her,
الدنيا
I
أجلس،
can
ما بقي
talk to you
مرحبا.
about what has
أسرار.
passed, but I cannot tell you. I will not tell you about what's to come, because these
ثم
are
قال لي
secrets.
هاتي ما معك
Then he said to her,
فأعطيته الحصاة
"Give me
فطبع لي
what you
فيه.
have." The stone in her hand, and then
ثم
he
أتيت
signed it
أبا
in the
جعفر
same manner.
عليه السلام
And she said, "I want
الإمام الباقر
Imam al-Baqir, peace be upon him."
فطبع لي فيها.
And he did the same,
ثم
signed the stone.
أتيت أبا
Then
عبد الله
Abu Abdullah al-Sadiq, peace be
عليه
upon him.
السلام فطبع لي فيها. ثم أتيت أبا
And then
الحسن موسى عليه
Imam
السلام
al-Kadhim,
فطبع
peace
لي
be upon him.
فيها. ثم أتيت الرضا
Then
عليه
Imam
السلام
al-Rida, peace be
فطبع
upon
لي
him, and he
فيها.
did sign it for
تقول
me
الرواية
too.
وعاشت
The narration
حبابة
says
بعد
after
ذلك
that,
9 أشهر
Hababa
على
lived
ما
for
ذكر
another
محمد بن هشام.
9 months,
هذا تمام
as Muhammad ibn
روايته.
Hisham narrated.
كافي. وكمال الدين للصدوق. طيب سؤال مهم هنا.
This presents a very important question. We have spoken about this narration.
ولكن
However,
هذا سؤال جدا مهم أنه
this narration is very
حبابة هذه
important.
كيف بلغت هذا المقام
Hababa, how did she reach
إذ تنال
such
كل هذه المكرمات؟
high level
أمرا
to
هينا.
receive such blessings,
يعود إليها شبابها
to get her youth back,
تشفى
to be cured from her
كذلك
illness,
وتكون قريبة جدا
to be
من
very
الإمام
close to the
عليه
Imam's
السلام.
peace be
وقد
upon him.
علمنا أنه لما توفيت
And
رحمه
as
الله
we learned,
بكى عليها
when she
الإمام
passed away,
عليه السلام
Imam
هو الذي
al-Rida
تولى أمرها
cried
والصلاة
for her,
عليها.
and he prayed for
احنا
her.
في زماننا إذا واحد يموت
If
يصلي عليه مرجع
one of us
تقول
die in this day and age,
يرفعون
and
راسهم
a
فوق
grand religious
أبونا
authority, a
هذا يصلى
marja,
عليه المرجع الفلاني
prays
العالم
for him,
الفلاني. شلون إذا كان إمام
you'd see
معصوم
how people react.
عليه
How
السلام
would people react
فقال
then
يبكي
if
هم
the Imam,
يبكي
the
فقال
infallible
يقول
Imam,
أبلغي آبائي عني
peace be
السلام.
upon him, was crying
أي
for you,
مقام
praying
وصلت
for you,
إليه هذه
and
المرأة العظيمة.
asking you to send your blessings and
زيادة
your
عمرها
salutations to your
كذلك
father.
لها هذه الحصى اللي هذه يكفي هذه الحصى
This
لو واحد
stone,
يحصلها
that she had in her
يصير.
hand, this,
هذه
if someone
الحصى
could get,
دارت
you
بين
have no idea what
أيدي
would
كم معصوم.
happen. This stone was
احسبوا يا
touched by how many infallibles?
8
8
معصومين
infallibles.
وفيها طبع من كل معصوم.
And each one of them
بخاتمها.
signed it with their ring.
هين هذا
It's not a simple thing.
كيف بلغت حبابة رضوان الله
How did she
عليها
reach
هذا
such a
المقام
level?
العظيم؟ نحن نقول إنهما أمران.
We say it is two things.
العبادة
First, worship,
والانقطاع لآل محمد عليه
and to have complete
تفصل نفسها عن الدنيا وتقول ما أعرف
loyalty
غير آل محمد.
to Ahl al-Bayt, peace be upon them, and to
وتشغل
neglect dunya
أوقاتها بعبادة الله
and use her time for the sake of Allah and worshiping Allah, because this is
نحن
our
خلقنا للعبادة.
original duty. We were created to worship Allah.
في بصائر
In
الدرجات
بصائر الدرجات
للصفار
by الصفار
رواية
is a narration
تدلنا على ما
that
اتصفت به هذه السيدة الجليلة
confirmed to us
من الانقطاع لآل
that
محمد.
this lady, noble lady,
عن
was
حبابة الوالبية
loyal to
قالت
Ahl
قلت
al-Bayt
لأبي عبد
and
الله
stayed close to them.
الإمام الصادق
So this narration,
إن لي
Imam
ابن
Sadiq was
أخ
asked, he said,
وهو
I have
يعرف
a
فضلكم
cousin who knows that
وإني
you are
أحب أن تعلمني
legitimate,
أمن
rightful.
شيعتكم.
And I want to ask you if he is Shia. So when she asked the Imam to tell her that a cousin, she had a cousin that always spoke rightly of you, but I want to know if he's your Shia or not. If he's not of your Shia, he is worth nothing to her. You know your Shia. You know your followers. Ahl al-Bayt, peace be upon you. You have a record of all the names of Shia, even those who are not even born. Where inshallah our names are in that record. their name, these names would exist even if these people are not alive during the Imam's peace be upon him. So she asked him, this man, a cousin, speaks rightly of you, but I want you to tell me, as if you're Shia. He asked me what's his name. I told him. He said, and the Imam called one of his servants, one of his ladies' servants. He said, bring me the record. And she said, he brought a large paper with records in it. And he said, yes, his name is here along with his father's name. Oh, so she was his aunt. My apologies, not his cousin. And she was relieved to hear that he was Shia. And there is another side that speaks of another aspect of her great personality, great character. We said this woman had two great characteristics: worship, endeavoring to worship and to submit wholly to Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, and to divorce herself from dunya for the sake of Ahlul Bayt. And this is something we will expand on the next episode. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل